Channing Benson, Split Experimentation Advisor, here with another video. This one's about feature monitoring. Feature monitoring is another component of the Split feature release platform that allows you to ensure quality by detecting unexpected consequences of new features. It alerts when metrics that you set up degrade to a user-specified threshold, either a percentage threshold or an absolute threshold. It is fed with events from various integrations. One, Sentry for detecting errors. There's also a Split JavaScript RUM agent that provides information about page load times and so forth. I should note that any event fed to Split can be part of a metric that you can alert on, but in particular, those integrations provide for events from performance-related metrics. And the feature monitoring leverages knowledge about which users got a particular treatment to make it possible to alert when only a few percentage points of your total users are exposed to a feature. And that's one thing that distinguishes Split's feature monitoring from a traditional APM system where you're monitoring based on all of your traffic. Because Split knows which users have seen a particular treatment, we're able to specifically identify the behavior associated with that treatment. And when you roll out a release, if you roll it out all or nothing, you can say, oh yeah, after this release, our page load time went up significantly. We must have a problem. Let's roll that back. With Split, you could expose maybe 10% of your users to a new feature, and we would see, oh, for those users who saw that feature, their page load time went up significantly. And so we're able to specifically associate the increase or in page load time, the decrease in performance or responsiveness, with that particular feature and alert you to that fact. The other nice thing that distinguishes Split's feature monitoring from traditional APM solutions is it's not just related to performance metrics. You could set up an alert for business metrics such as conversion rate. Maybe there's, something about a new interface that makes it difficult for people to do traditional things like add a product to their cart. You would want to know about that, and we could alert you on it. I will note that for those metrics where not every user would participate in them, it may take a little bit of time. There might be more latency because the way the metrics work for alerting is we only alert you if we understand that the feature is having a statistically significant effect on the metric. And our ability to see that depends on the volume of traffic and the number of users who participate in that event. Gives you early detection of problems. We detect an alert on our traditional metric calculation cycle, which begins 15 minutes after you start a version of a Split. Again, as I said, it's unique in that it ties the errors or the impacts, the negative impact that you're wanting to alert on to the features themselves. Obviously, Split, being a feature flag platform, gives you ability to immediately turn off the feature that's causing the problem, and then thus limit your user impact. And you can detect, the other nice thing about that is as mentioned earlier, you can detect the impact by only exposing a small percentage of your users to this new feature and then noticing, oh yeah, those particular users were negatively affected, and realize that you need to turn that Split off and then figure out what went wrong and then re-enable it. So now let's look at the actual steps in setting up feature monitoring. The steps are: verify the desired monitor window. That's how long we will continue to alert you based on our calculations. It can be anywhere from 30 minutes to 4 weeks. You're going to add an alert policy to the metrics that you want to be alerted upon. And then for the splits where you want to be alerted, you'll set an alert baseline treatment. And you might just do that for all of your splits. So let's go look at our split org and see how that looks. So we'll go to admin settings, monitor window and statistics, and at the very top of the page is this monitor window. Again, that's how long alerts will be possible after the version of a split begins. And you can see it can be anywhere from 30 minutes to 28 days. I should emphasize that the metric calculation cycle is the same for all splits, whether or not alerting is enabled, and will only be able to alert you after a particular calculation that shows the degradation that you're looking for. And that schedule is we calculate every 15 minutes for the first hour after the version of a split starts, then every hour until a total of 12 hours has elapsed since the beginning of the version, then every 2 hours till a total of 24 hours has elapsed, and then every day for the next 14 days. So the default monitor window for alerting is 24 hours. Now let's go look at what monitoring looks like in the setup of a metric. So I have two metrics set up here for alerting. Average payload time based on a percentage, and you can see when we go to alert policy in the metric definition page, we've got the alert threshold, and we're using a relative difference of 5%. And also note that in the metric definition, we're saying that we want the desired impact of this metric, page load time, is to decrease, right? It's better if the page load time is smaller. And so the alert policy is going to be based on if there is an increase of more than 5% compared to the split's baseline treatment. And we alert via emails. You can set up the alert to be sent to the metric owner, the owner of this split where the alert fired, existing users and groups, and you can also add additional emails like I have in this case. It's sent to Dave@split.io. So when an alert triggers, it fires off an email telling Dave that hey, the page load time percentage alert fired on XYZ split. You might want to go take a look at that. Also, you can, this one is different only in the alert policy, and that is that we're using, instead of a percentage difference, we're using an absolute difference of 0.05. So if our page load time is more than 0.05 in the overall metric value, then we'll fire this alert. So that's how the feature monitoring is set up in the metric definition. Now let's go look what it looks like for a particular split. And again, I've got a starred split called front end packages. And one of the keys, so we've got two treatments here, checked and unchecked. We've got a percentage rollout where we're giving checked to 10% of the users and unchecked to 90% of the users. This might be a typical pattern when you're trying out something new and you want to minimize the blast radius by only exposing a small percentage of the users to the new treatment and then making sure that it works okay. Down here at the bottom, we set the alert baseline treatment. And this is when we calculate the metrics and we compare the performance of the metric of the checked treatment. Which one are we going to compare it to? Because you might have, it's possible to have more than two treatments for a split. And this one basically says we want to alert if those thresholds we defined in the metric definition are different to that degree from which treatment. And in this case, it's the unchecked treatment. And I think I mentioned that we start calculating at the beginning of the version of a split, and you can start a new version of a split by making any change in the definition. And I'm just going to make a small change to the description of this treatment and save the changes, and that'll start a new version, and thus that calculation cycle. And then I will trigger a script, and we'll come back in 15 minutes to see what happened. So I'm just going to say creating a new version for demo, confirm. All right, so that new version's created. All right, we'll take a quick break. It'll be like no time at all to you. It'll be 15 minutes. I'll be right back. So now 10% of our users have been getting the check treatment. Unfortunately, it also made their page load time longer to a degree that it caused our metrics to alert. And you can see we now have an alert banner here on the targeting rules tab of the split. If we go into the alerts tab, we'll get some detail on what exactly those alerts were. We can see what time they fired, 10 o'clock. What was the name of the alert policy? And it's basically the name of the metric, page load percentage alert, and then also the absolute alert. It tells us what the relative impact was, which was greater than our threshold, and it tells us what the absolute impact was, which was this number of milliseconds, and what the baseline was versus the affected value. So you can see that checked was 130 milliseconds approximately compared to 100 milliseconds, and then what the relative and what the absolute thresholds were. And also we should note that Dave got an email as well as the metric owner got an email, and that is how feature monitoring works in Split. I hope this video has been helpful for you to understand this component of the Split feature delivery platform.